I've learned a lot as a leader with this group, and one of the things that recently with taking this extended break is as a leader, it's okay to step back once in a while. If things are getting a little intense and you don't know which direction things need to go, it's okay to step back, rest the team, gather your thoughts, and move forward. Allow everybody to come back to the task at hand with a renewed energy and purpose. And I can honestly tell you that's what's happening here. And it's so great to see all of you here today. There's so many faces, people that have been to meetings in the past, and then brand new faces. So that's so great. Thank you so much. We have a few board members I'd like to introduce to everybody. Brittany Siegel, are you here today? She's not here today, but she's with Vitalent. Heather Hoy, Monument Health, please stand up. Heather. Christina Simmons joined us. She's with Brady. She's not able to make it either. And Sheena Cassette, she's a longtime board member that is returning to the board after taking a couple year hiatus to start a family and stuff. So we're very glad to have these ladies and yeah, so all the other board members that are here today, please stand up and be recognized. They're all on the home and this is going well. No, I'm just very grateful for the great group of ladies that I get to work with every week on this stuff. So thank you so much. So our sponsor today is Kilowatt Electric, and we have the president of Kilowatt Electric, Jared Wilhelmy, over here in the corner. So thank you for sponsoring today, Jared. If it wasn't for attendees and then obviously great sponsors like Kilowatt, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So thank you so much. So now this is the favorite part, everybody. We're gonna have them start bringing food out, and then go ahead and network and enjoy the folks at your table with you, and then I'll be back about 12 o'clock to introduce him. So thank you. Okay, everyone, go ahead and get started here. So a short bio on Hani. All this from his website, so it's very accurate. Um, he's the president of Green Design International. It says, having grown up in war torn Palestine, Annie learned early the art of adaptability, constant rebuilding, unwavering possibility, and faith in what the world could become. Annie brings that grit and vision to the work of rebuilding and recreating the community. Where others see a rundown business or an empty plot of land, Annie sees a thriving new economic hub, a location for much needed medical services and schools, a place where people could only dream of calling home. With over 30 years as an engineer and developer, Annie knows it takes comfort and trust to build a great development. So personally, I can say two words that come to my mind when I think of Annie are visionary and leader. And the reason I think visionary is because of the size and the scope of the things that you've accomplished and that you continue to accomplish. And then the leader part of it comes into making it happen, putting the team together to make it happen. Because a lot of people have dreams, a lot of people have big ideas, but you really do see it through. Um, I really admire how approachable you are, how easy you are to talk to, and that you always have a smile on your face. And so, without further ado, Hani Shafai.
Wow. I don't know if I am that good, actually. So it's well, thank you for all for coming. I really do appreciate you being here, and I appreciate all you do for Rapid City and being community leaders and participating in all activities, including being here. Uh, Closer, huh? Okay, that's good. All right, how is that? Is that better? Okay. Uh, you know, about my, you know, Ali is she's the one who runs the show in my life in the office. So she really does a lot of a lot of great things for ourselves or for the office people. Uh, as far as all right, we're going. Uh, the about myself, I actually came to School of Mines and I graduated from there with my bachelor degree and then with my master's degree. And then I worked in the private sector. Actually, I taught at the school first. After going to California, thinking that I was going to join the movie industry, but I didn't have the looks, so they, I came back. So the the School of Mines called me up, and I taught there for a few years. Then I joined the city of Rapid City as a city engineer for about 8 years, and then I the in Dream Design, our goal is actually to build communities and make lives better for a lot of people. The goal is not really just to build things for the sake of building things, and the goal is not really to sell as many things as we can to make as much money as we can. That's not the goal. If we put that as a goal, I guarantee you we will never succeed. Because if the materialistic and financial goals are the main goals, things never work. You know, we believe in our communities, and we believe whatever matters to the community matters to us. And then we also believe that people come first before anything else. And growth is not bad, but growth enhances the quality of life within communities and creates opportunities to so many people. So uh, we never compromise on public safety or welfare. As I mentioned before, I think the School of Mines felt really bad for me. I felt really sorry, so they gave me an honorary doctorate, and I think just because of how many years I spent going on the library and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm a registered engineer. I get involved in the community, and the goal there is really, when I came to the States to the School of Mines, I think I was helped by one of my sponsors, which is one of my professors from back home. And when I came back, after leaving the school for a couple of years or 3 years actually, I actually came back with $1.25. So Rapid City not only has been home to me, but has given me a lot more than I ever dreamt of having. So therefore, I get involved with a lot of things, just to give back to the community, regardless if it is boards or what have you. And it's just a way of saying thank you for the community and really, giving it back to where it belongs. Sorry, this thing is not working out. Uh, Maybe there. Okay, I'll click it. All right. Wow, we're going too fast now. We go too far. Now we're stuck again. Oh, okay. All right. Well, sorry. Maybe the better is weak. That's it on this side. Sorry, folks. Yep. All right. All right. I'll be patient. All right. Some of the projects that we're involved with, we're doing a lot of projects around the community. And, as I mentioned before, people think that growth may impact the community negatively, but really growth enhances the quality of life by enhancing several aspects of life within the community, regardless if it is, improving healthcare by attracting more doctors, specialty doctors to the community, because if we did not have the population, they will not be here. Having more than one airline serving the Rapid City area is, part of our growth, is a result of having the growth within our community. It used to be just a Frontier airline. Now we got Delta and United and several other airlines serving us and connecting us to several communities. So that's a result of the growth. These four projects are active projects. They're including, healthcare, which is the VA at the bottom left. And then above it is a state building where we consolidated, working with the state, several agencies into one building. And then the yellow graph is basically a housing project that will house approximately, 3,000 residential units, approximately 7,500 people will be living there. We're almost 40% done with that. We anticipated 20 years. We will be done with it in less than 10. In the blue, that's a site for a school. And then on the right-hand side, far right-hand side, is an industrial park that is about 700 acres, attracting, industries to the hills that will have railroad access and what have you. Uh, the goal there is actually to attract businesses that will provide for higher wages for our, great students that come out of the school of mines, the young people who come out of our community. And instead of having them move to other states or other communities, we could basically retain those young people and have the grandkids and the kids be here instead of having them going into other places. So that's, what we're doing currently. Of course, each one of us is actually a leader, regardless of who we are on at what level. You know, we start, the leadership starts, at the family. Each family has a leader, regardless if it is the mom, which most of the cases it is the case, because they're the ones who really control the house. I know my mom, if it wasn't for her, I don't think my dad would have been able to get out of the door. He was a principal for a high school, and he really did not know how to match clothes and what have you. And, I think, we lived in a small house, I think 11 kids with two bedrooms and one outside, one outhouse actually, and one kitchen. And so my mom would order actually gravel and sand because we mix the concrete on site. And my dad will ask, well, whose is that? And she's like, oh, the neighbors are planning to build a house. And she was ordering that actually for our own house. So it's like, finally he figured it out. I think, I think, he had a master degree and she had a third grade education. I am not kidding you. That's the truth. Yeah. So leadership comes in regardless of education, regardless of the background, regardless of the sex or race or what have you. Sorry. As far as leadership, also, like you could be a community, you could be a team leader. That team leader can be, people at office, people at a football game, or people in an army, or people, every group of people requires a leader. Otherwise, they will be misdirected and they will never get anything accomplished because everybody wants to just take charge and nothing will happen. A community requires a leader, and leadership is what really directs the community. Otherwise, the community gets fragmented and nothing gets done either. Same thing with the country, so it's like proper leadership lead to better living condition and better opportunity for a lot of people and lead to success if it is in business or in anything else. A good leader will start really with one main thing, which is really the faith. If you really don't have a faith and belief that guides you, it doesn't matter what kind of faith. You really have to have that faith. And all faiths, regardless of what it is, direct us as humans to do what is right, not do what is wrong. No faith that exists, regardless if it is Christian, Hindu, Muslim, or Jewish, or whatever, directs you to really commit the radical things that some groups of people could commit. and claim that faith directs them to do that, because faith does not do that. And faith also guides you as a human to really do the right thing for other people and lead people in a way that will achieve the right things. To do that, you have to have a plan, of course, and you have to have a vision before you have the plan, because you really, to define your plan, you got to know where you're going. And where you're going is basically is dictated by that vision. And what guides you is that faith that you have. And of course, Allah, to achieve that vision, you have small goals, steps that you achieve, and you celebrate your success in achieving those steps. You really, when my mom grabs the gravel and holds it in, that's the first load of gravel was, one goal, that was the $20 or the $30 that she had saved from selling eggs or milk or cheese. And she achieved that. Her plan was to accomplish that plan. She bought a couple of cows, and that's what she did. And that's part of the plan that she has done to accomplish her vision of building a house. What distinguishes really good leadership from really, you know, so-so leadership are basically several characteristics, and it starts with the basically honesty. If you're not honest with yourself or with the people that you really are trying to lead, or the people that you communicate with, regardless if they are customers or colleagues or what have you, you really will not going to get off the ground for the first step. The next thing is basically the uncompromising core belief. I mentioned the faith, and I mentioned also the belief. What is your belief? Is it really believing in money, or believing in community service, or believing just in yourself, or believing in your colleagues and everybody around you? And that's really very important. Consistency. Consistency does not mean that you are going to be rigid. So it's and those are really critical things. Yeah, the humility, the positivity, the confidence, and adaptability. And just to give you an idea, like as far as honesty, you know, as somebody said, authenticity bridges the gap between what we say and what we do. Going to church every day does not make you just, it's not the only thing that makes you a good person. Praying 5 times a day does not really constitute that you're a great person. It's your actions. Are you really doing what is right? Are you returning the $5 that you were given by that poor cashier, that were extra more than what you needed to be given as extra cash that you are giving back? Or are you really finding who owns that purse or that money that you had in your, I drove a cab in Chicago, and actually I'll tell you this story, a little one. I drove a cab in Chicago, and I picked up a lady at the water tower, and she was going about 10 blocks, or not even 10 blocks, because it's just about 6 blocks actually, down the street on Lakeshore Drive. Rich, big building, and she was the meanest lady I've ever had in my cab. And I was like, the first question was like, basically, I was like, hey, driver, do you speak English? I'm like, oh yeah, I speak a little bit of English. And I stood on the line for about an hour to get about $2, and she didn't give me any tip. I am not kidding you. And so as I was frustrated, lunch hour, so I went to a restaurant that I used to go eat lunch at. It was called Jerusalem Restaurant because I like Middle Eastern food. I mean, you could tell. Uh, so it's and I looked in the back seat. I am not kidding you. There was an envelope of a bank envelope that has a lot of cash in it. And it was not even 10 minutes from where I dropped it off. So I looked at the envelope, and it was all cash. There is not ID or anything. I knew if it was left there before, she would have found it, or anybody else would have found it. So I knew it was her. So I actually went back to the building, and I told the doorman, just dropped the lady off about 10 minutes ago. And he said, yeah, I saw you. And she's the mean one in the building. I said, okay. So I was not the only one. You know. So I said, she left something in my cab. And so she came back and I handed her the envelope. She wanted to give me like $100. I said, no, don't worry about it. It's like, but that it's not really a characteristic of me. It was natural behavior. That's what I taught when I was growing up, and I think that really the way we conduct those small things is really the way we conduct our everything in our life. If you compromise in once, you will compromise all the time. We already talked about belief, and somebody else said, if you really don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. So it's like, are you going to be bribed to really change and compromise on your belief just because somebody is trying to sway you and entice you with temptations or what have you? Those are really things that you have to think of as flexibility. It's not really, as I mentioned before, it's not really being rigid or being flexible that you flow with the wind. No, you got to handle situations, different situations in a different manner. If somebody in your organization really messes up really bad and does not comply with the beliefs and the ideas that the rest of the team has, you got to reprimand them. And if somebody's doing good, you got to really reward them for that good behavior, and regardless if it is at the family level or at the organization or anywhere else. But you cannot do it differently with different people within the organization. You cannot treat your kids different for the same behavior. You cannot treat your employees different for the same behavior. You cannot treat your client different for based on who they are. You have to treat them consistently for the same type of deal. And it's what consistency is all about. Humility, it's like you really don't want to toot your own horn. You really don't. The best thing to do is let your actions speak for themselves. Let others speak for you, not you speaking about yourself. The humility is basically, as they say, people with humility do not think less of themselves, but they think less about themselves. So like, if I'm going to be thinking of myself all the time, I'll never get anything done. I really don't. I really doubt it. So positivity, I mean, I go to the office no matter how bad it is. And you could ask anybody in my organization, no matter how severe. I mean, I work a lot with City Hall, and government is not the best friend to have. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not just a tax guy that is bad. It's sometimes, and it's not really being bad or good. It's just they have a different way of doing business. And so no matter how bad it is, people will ask me, hey, how you doing? I always say great. You know, and I always do it with a smile, no matter what. And the reason for that is really, like if you show negative emotions, it radiates and it really drags the whole team down, and it drags you down. The more negative that you think, the more negative your team is, and that reflects back on you, and all of a sudden it's an endless cycle of negative behavior. Confidence, I always say, you really, if you don't take risks, you never get anywhere, you know, and don't fear just, asking questions, just because, you don't want to look stupid. No question is a stupid question. The stupidity is sitting on ignorance without asking questions. That is really the truth, and don't fear taking risks. The only thing you fear is basically sitting around and sitting stagnant. Adaptability, is like, as if you look at uh, you're facing the let's take it in football. It's like, like a lot of times, like they're trying to run the football and they stack the line and what have you, and all of a sudden the quarterback, is supposed to hand it to the running back, and all of a sudden he backs out and he just throw it all the way in, even though the coach told him, no, we're running the play. He made that decision and he succeeds. And so you got to really be ready to reflect in what situation you're facing and try to modify your behavior or modify your plan. And you always reserve to modify the plan, even if it is the last minute, because you really got to reflect what is being facing against you. Uh, Community leaders, and it's almost the same exact thing, but for a community leader to really be effective, as a community, you always keep the public interest ahead of, your own interest, no matter what. You got to share the wealth. You can't really make it sound like, what, we have a surplus of $1 billion and we're raising the taxes. You really got to make sure that you try to help those people who really need the help. There is a, people think that people are starving just in Africa. That's what my parents used to say. There are a lot of people starving in Africa. There are a lot of people starving everywhere in the world, even in the richest countries. So we really got to take care of everybody. And and then we got to focus on the vision. If you cannot really focus on the vision, then you don't have any direction to go. And the same thing with taking input from other people. You got to really rely on the input of the people to really succeed. Otherwise, the behavior that you exhibit or the work that you do is based on your only input, and you don't know everything. We have accountants, we have planners, we have engineers, we have construction guys in our organization. And people think, my gosh, Hani is doing really well. No, we're doing okay, but people think that I am the one who's succeeding, and no, it's not me actually. It's the team that I have. They're the ones who really make the thing work and make the thing stick. I know only engineering. I don't know construction. My wife knows more construction than I do. So it's like, and I tell you what, that's the truth. She knows how to put things together. I don't. So it's admits mistakes. When you make mistakes, stand up and just admit it. It's there is nothing to hide. If you are not afraid of yourself, you cannot be afraid of anybody else. You cannot be afraid of anything else. You have to fear yourself first. You have to really know that your inner compass is what is guiding you, not just somebody else's comments of how good or how bad you are. You know, Today in our politics, especially in politics, people tend to really look at the newspaper, listen to the media, and see what the polls are showing. Oh my gosh, we're up, 5% or 2%, what have you, and that's what dictates their behavior and policies that they do. Good leaders don't really look at polls. They look at the input from the people and what is really good for the people, and they take the risk. The goal is not to be re-elected. The goal is not to be in office. The goal is to serve, and that's what a good community leader is. Success and mediocrity. You know, if you look at some of the people who are really successful in organizations, one is mentoring people, and the other one is like all they're doing is yelling at them. It's no different than your own kid. If your kid is always being beaten up and saying, oh, you're not good, you're not good, you're not good, they're going to be not good. If you tell them that they're always good, no matter what they do, but try to correct their actions with positive instructions, they will be good. That's the same thing with generating enthusiasm. And if things are broken down, you really find a way to fix it. And you don't really just try to hold in everything. You want to mentor the other people. I think the best letter I ever got is actually from one of my employees that left our office. I really do believe that. He worked for us as a project manager for construction. and he decided he wanted to buy his own building downtown Rapid City. And so he got input, and he asked if he could go out on his own and do that. And I said, yep, and I'll help you with whatever you need. Gave him some input, and I tell you what, he did really well. And one day I get a letter in the mail. He did not even stop in to drop it off. And it was one of the nicest compliments I've ever received. And that's what counts. It really is. He is grateful for what he learned and the positive things that I gave him and the input to get his project going. And it was not just me; it was a team of people in our office that helped him out. And then giving the credits, to people who do good, you really gotta give them a credit. You can't just, you know, go on as if nothing is noticed. You gotta give them the emotional support and the positive input to really, so they could keep doing that positive thing. And you don't tell people just do this or do that. I try always to use the word please. No matter what. And no matter how distracted or what have you, it goes a long ways. It really does. The same thing with if we want to do something. I try not to say I. I always use we. Even if it is not my project, I used to go to City Hall and I represented a lot of people, as a designer. I never said my client, I said we, because me and my client are one team. And his money is my money. His interests are my interests. His interests are community interests. I will never put his benefit or my own ahead of the community's interest. I really would not. And instead of, go to this or that, we go together to the project. And the same thing with fear. I mentioned fear a lot. People really get afraid of taking major change or any even minor change, because they think, my gosh, I think, like in some of my teams, like sometimes you bring in new leaders or new team players and what have you. When you have additional team members because your team requires that, that is a need to strengthen the team. And it's not really to weaken any member of the team. The goal is to really enhance the quality of the entire team. And, sometimes people are afraid of that. Sometimes, you're changing the computer system and people are saying, no, 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 we're going to learn all that. That's more efficient than what have you. And those things really are critical. And as I say, like people are afraid of failure, and they think, my gosh, is it going to work? If you don't take a chance, if you don't really not even get into the game, you're never going to win. If you get in the game, at least you got 50-50 chance. If you do things right and you comply with a lot of the guiding things that are guided by your inner compass and you trust your gut, I believe that you got a lot more than 50% chance to succeed, not just a 50-50. But if you stood on the sideline, you got zero chance. So it's like, uh, it's crazy. Uh, the you can't. We have a lot of opportunities that come in into our office or into our business, and if we sat on it, I tell you what, it goes away. So it's like people think we're going too fast. We do take calculated risks, but if you sit around doing nothing, that opportunity passes you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have done this, or I should have. Should have never works. I will do this or I will do that. That works, but should have never really works because it's in the past. And you want to plan for the future instead of the past. And you got to evaluate your enemy. It's like I raise goats and I raise cows. And you can't take on an enemy that is larger than you. I guarantee you that. And so you got to evaluate your enemy. I think one of the wiser people than me said, if your enemy is superior, evade him. Of course, you're going to you're right behind kick if you really take on such an enemy. And if he's angry, irritate the heck out of him. I tend to do that a lot with the city. Sorry. Uh, and if not, if they're equally matched, be prepared and and plan ahead and take them on. That's no problem. And if not, just go home and try to evaluate, and hopefully you don't have to do anything. Uh, I mentioned the word fear a lot, and really, there are I fear three different things, and I hope that makes a lot of sense for you. I fear God. That's the number one thing. I really do. And number two, I fear my inner campus. I really would not do anything, even if I am by myself and nobody's watching, that I would not do in front of you. I really would not. Uh, Number three is fear itself. I think, our president, said the only fear to fear is fear itself. And I think he was right. That was my third fear that I really fear. But I fear God first and then fear myself and I then fear itself. Thank you. And I hope all of you will get something out of this. I really don't know. I am not that great of a speaker. So it's like, so thank you all for being here. Thank you very much.
That was really good, Danny. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Annie?
Annie, first of all, I think we would all agree that we're very thankful that you're not a movie star and you came back here and blessed us to stay here with, I mean, your gift that you know, we just love you. My question is one of the first lines that showed your projects, that residential area that has a place for the new school, where is that located?
That that area is right above Menard. You could see those apartments going up there, and there are about almost 1,200 residential single-family homes, and there will be approximately 2,000 apartments. There is 600 that are under construction in the complex that is going up. That is already you could see from everywhere else, and then there is 400 units that already started right next to the VOTAC, and there is another 150 right next to where the goat and the cow were fighting. Yeah, yeah.
Annie, could you tell people about what you're doing with the refugees from Ukraine and some of the work that you're doing on that front?
Oh, sure. What is happening in Ukraine is completely repeat of, what humans can do to other humans, which is really a tragedy. And we cannot really stand by doing nothing about it. We did that in the past, and we cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. We have to learn from the past. World War II, the Germans committed a lot of crimes against a lot of people, and a lot of them were the Jewish faith people that were in Germany and Central Europe. And at the beginning, people were standing around doing nothing about it, including the United States. We would not even allow the Jewish people who are being burnt in Europe to come to the United States at the beginning. It took a lot of effort to do that. And we cannot really stand by doing the same thing right now where we allow Putin and the Russian army to go destroy a lot of the Ukrainian infrastructure and killing people. So the goal there in our state, we thought we'll do a win-win situation. In our state, our unemployment is basically less than 3%. It's about 2.4%. And we cannot find people to work, regardless if it is nurses or doctors or engineers or what have you. So Ukraine has got a lot of talent in it. It's really, yeah, it is one of the old Russian republics, but it is one of the most advanced Russian republics. And the Ukrainian peoples are hardworking people. They have similar environment like to the one that we have in South Dakota. So we thought I was working with Terex, which is a manufacturer in Watertown, and Schwan Food and 3M, and we were exploring ideas of workforce development. And that was even before the Ukraine came in. And we talked about bringing in refugees, or, specialty visas. And one of the first ones that we talked about was the native population. Their unemployment is really high. And we thought we retrain and what have you. And Terex agreed to do some of that. And so did Schwann's Food and 3M. And so it's like the Ukraine issue came about, and we saw an opportunity, not really just economics, but humanitarian in nature. What a good way to really help our state economy and at the same time help people that really need our help. The temperature in Ukraine goes as down just as much as it does in here. Imagine having no power and you cannot get out of the house to really go collect even wood at certain days to go start a fire. So that gives you an idea. So we started a program, with the help of some of the folks in Watertown and the Lake Area VOTEC president at that time, Mike, and they are a really great group. And we started a campaign where we could help bring in some refugees, and it will require sponsors because of our immigration law requires a sponsor, family, and what have you. So I'm amazed at the level of interest in our state, and unfortunately, it's been really more widespread in the eastern part of the state than here. So, Lutheran social services in the eastern side has been really active, and the community has been really active. In our community, we are at the inception stage. We're working with some members of our community to start a committee that really help with that effort. We put in a little bit of money to really kickstart the program, in the state, and it's working out really good. We already, we were hoping to match, a little bit of money, and it's actually we far exceeded that as a state, and we're hoping to get some volunteers to really help with the coordination, where we place families and sponsor families and what have you. There will be some money that will give back to the families that are sponsoring those folks. And the goal is a humanitarian, and hopefully the problem will be solved to the near future and no more killing will be happening in that part of the world. I hope that answers it.
Okay, you think you're done? We got a couple more things. Like I need you to draw the first name. We give away a luncheon at every luncheon, so this will be for a future luncheon. Sandra Swan.
Wow. Well, thanks again. You guys are easy crowd. My goodness. I used to speak at the nuns, at St. Martin, and I mean, I tell you what, there were about 8 old ladies. Their average age is about 80, and that was amazing old ladies group. That was, they asked me more questions that's the only group that asked me questions that I really have to think a lot, So like, thank you.
So we got one more drawing, and that's for a leadership book that Hani recommended. And the title of that book is The Little Book of Coaching, Motivating People to Be Winners. Thank you, Amazon. It has not showed up yet, but we will get it to whoever. And one more. All right, Mark Anderson.
Wow.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hank.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so that was fantastic. Look forward to seeing everybody back here in February. Just a note here, we're having a little bit of firewall issues sending out emails to let everybody know about the upcoming luncheon. So if you go ahead and just double check and make sure that you okay that we're sending you stuff, and it might come from Eventbrite too, which I know you get a lot of stuff from Eventbrite, but it just helps us get the word out about the events. So thank you everybody, and we'll see you next month.
Well, it was nice to meet you.
You
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
That was
thank you.
fun.
Yeah, let me know when
I
fits you.
will, I
You
will
bet.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. let
Thank
me
you
know.
so much.
You bet.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna steal the mic.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're not. There you go. Thank you.